Hello, and welcome to the 30th episode of Random Musings. Actually, this is the sixth episode of the third season. We thank you so much, first of all, for all the love that you're giving to this series, as always, just like the previous two seasons. But just urging you that if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcast or any other podcast platforms, please rate it and review it so that it just helps. And if you're watching it on YouTube, as always, just subscribe, like, and all that. Okay, with that out of the way, let me invite this episode's guest. Again, I say this, I think, for most of my episodes because I'm just very fortunate that I've known a lot of people who I feel like I can have conversations with that you will enjoy listening to. And in that series, in that mood, today's guest is also somebody I've always wanted right from the beginning. One of the main reasons, apart from the fact that she's a very, very, very good friend of mine, is the array of talents that she possesses. When I first got to know her, I knew her as an actor. And over the years that I've known her, she has written a lot of things. She has now directed a movie that's out on Prime Video. I would talk about that in this episode, and I would urge all of you to watch the movie once you're done listening to this episode. So let me invite today's guest, Sindhu Srinivas Murthy, or just Sindhu.
Hello, Kumar.
Welcome, Sindhu. Welcome.
Thank
So
you.
happy to have you on Random Musings. I wanted it for a very, very long time, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun talking.
Yes,
Welcome.
of
Welcome.
course.
Okay. As always, I have some topics that I would want to talk to you about. And the first thing when I think of you, I think of Bangalore. Okay,
Yeah.
Bengaluru or Bangalore. Uh, Probably because I think apart from work, we have spent most of our time in Bangalore. I always, when I think of the city of Bangalore, I think of a few of my close friends where you are one of them. And you, I know, unlike most of my friends who are immigrants to the city, you are somebody who grew up in Bangalore and you work there. Now you studied there, you know all the restaurants and you know streets, etc., etc. And but you've spent some time in Mumbai also. You've spent some time at other places also. You've traveled all over the world. So I want to start talking about Bangalore, and I've done this earlier with I think Devaya and Kenny and a couple of other people who've spent some time in Bangalore. But I want to start with this because on Random Musings, it's been a theme to talk about your city. Like Anirban talked about Calcutta, Shrimoy
Yeah,
talked about Calcutta.
yeah.
Um, so I want to start with Bangalore. Like, what difference do you find in Bangalore compared to any other city you've been? How are the people different? How is the city different? And I also, you told me recently that there are apps that the auto walas are using now, which is
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about all of this, Sindhu.
Yes.
Let's start with talking about Bangalore.
Okay, so like you said, I've just like been born and brought up in Bangalore. So it's like my favorite place in I think all of India because it's home, of course, but also because the quality of life here is just great. It's fantastic. Like people don't take themselves so seriously that they're in a rat race. They also take life kind of slowly and easily, which I really enjoy the pace. I think that was the biggest difference when I moved to Bombay. Like you said, I was there for 2 years. And the biggest difference was the rat race that everyone was part of. Everyone was always like trying to get somewhere, running, and like, there was this hustle. And here people are like, it's okay if you don't do anything today. It's okay to like just take a break and not do anything. It's okay
Mm,
to take a break and relax and enjoy your life for just existing in it. You know what
mm,
I mean? So
mm,
that's what I love about the place here. And also, of course, the fact that, we have so much greenery around us. I
mm,
can literally take a 1 hour drive outside of Bangalore and there is no traffic. These are all small villages. There are hikes that you can do. And the fact that even our localities have at least 5 parks within like a 500-meter distance from where I stay, for example, there are at least two of them within like 300 meters.
mm,
So it's fantastic. The fact that there's so much greenery, you're in touch with nature, but you're also having this kind of slow living lifestyle. But also, like you said, it's a very tech like like tech capital of the country, of course, because like I told you, this app, like the union right now, the auto union came up with this entire app called Namma Yatri.
mm,
So basically, what Uber and Ola was doing was that these guys had problems with the payment. It wasn't coming to them on time and etc. When you pay on the app, etc. Right? So they were like, they tried for the longest time to like tell people, hey, pay us by cash. And then so many people like, okay, in Bangalore, by the way, nobody carries cash anymore. Everyone just like pays by QR and stuff. So these guys were like, okay, how do we do this? They got on the like QR codes as well, but also there was this fee that was attached to like, if there's a sharing model or etc. whatever. So they created their own app. It's called the Nammayatri. So 100% of the fees that is shown on the app actually goes directly to the driver. You pay them at the end of the ride by QR or cash or whatever. But the app is just a medium to book, and it's not like a regulator or any of that. So it just made their lives easier. So that's what I really appreciate about the city, that if somebody has a problem, they just go out and fix it. There are like apps for like the transport system as well. Like there's a BMTC app, so you can actually track your buses, people who want to use local transport. So I think it's great, the fact that people are always out there inventing and creating something new. So that energy is still there, but still know how to live life well. So that's what I like about the city.
Wow. But Sindhu, you said about one of the things you like about Bangalore is the fact that you can chill, like you don't have to rush all the time. But one irony which I find between people like you and me, and I know this is common between the two of us, is the desire to be productive all the time. Okay.
Yes.
And I struggle with, so I'll tell you what I feel about it, and then I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah.
Is this deep desire for utilizing time the whole time? Like
Yes.
I have this list of things that I have to do next day. Like before I go to sleep, I'm like, okay, these are the things that I need to do. And then the whole day has to work accordingly. Like every second, I'm like, I'm not wasting time, right? Like I'm not wasting time, right? And with time, it's just keeps getting, I don't know if we can call it worse or what, but I
Yeah.
feel like if I'm not productive, I just feel very guilty. Like I was in a Diwali party recently, and in the party, I was thinking when I have to go back home, I have to do this, I have to do this, because I was feeling I haven't done anything today. Like done anything today.
Yeah.
Like although I had maybe done a lot of things,
Yeah.
but my mind was like, no, I have to go back and do at least some half an hour, 1 hour work before I go to sleep. Even when I'm watching a movie, like as simple task as that, I'm like, can I make it productive somehow? When I'm listening to a song, I'm like, so everything that I do, it's just, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's good or bad, or I don't know what it is. But I want you to talk about this struggle, or I don't know what you call it, the desire to be productive all the time. Does it happen with you?
Of course, I think the problem is that I want to feel some sort of progress
Hmm.
in any aspect of life. Like, I don't think I want to feel stagnation. I think that's when the problem comes in, right?
Hmm.
And also the fact that the life that I kind of live in terms of like an artist's life, nothing happens like overnight, or like, nothing just like works very quickly. You know what I mean? Like even to get your project, then you shoot your project. Like there are like long periods of waiting in between all of this sometimes. So I
Hmm.
think the fact that we're quantifying this work, which is like, okay, we have to do more, we have to do more, we have
Yeah.
to do more, instead of concentrating on the quality of the work that we're doing, leads to this struggle, I feel. And it's something that's I struggle with a lot. That I'm always like, okay, what did I do today? And it's also something that amplified when I was in Bombay, because the
Hmm.
hustle was so real there.
Hmm.
Everybody's hustling all the time, and
Hmm.
if you're not doing it, everybody's like, what did you do today?
Yeah.
What were you doing today? And
Yeah.
that question is very, very taxing on somebody
Yeah.
who's already hard on themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have actually figured out other ways to now channelize my productivity. Like I'm like, okay, fine, yes, work related productivity is one.
Hmm.
I would like it to go a certain way. Whatever is in my control, I will do it. And what I can't do and what is not in my control, that I have to let go, right? And
Hmm.
then there are other things that I do. I take on these very short courses,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I took a short course on urban sketching, 10 days. I did a watercolors for 10 days.
Hmm.
And then I did, I think I took like basics level of Korean language. Uh,
Hmm.
and then I did a bunch of very random things. I go wall climbing. I got a friend to teach me how to like kind of like improve on that skill.
Hmm.
So what I look at it as, these are skills that may be completely unrelated, but
Hmm.
it's really fun to just kind of learn.
Hmm.
And in a way, I'm also being productive because it's a new skill that I'm honing.
Hmm.
But I also feel great that I've learned something new.
Hmm.
And I don't do like
Hmm.
extensive like 1 year courses, 2 year courses. I do like
Hmm.
chota mota courses, like 10
Hmm.
days, 1 week. 2 weeks, which is sufficient for me to like dive into it, but also not like invest large amounts of like time into it that I'm feeling like I'm taking it away from what I should be doing, which is work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that helps me kind of balance out this need for productivity, which is like only work related generally.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of balance it out with other skills that I can. And I also feel that as an actor, you just need to be exposed to as much as possible, all different walks of life, people, things, skills, etc. You'll never know when it's required. For example, like I cannot sketch at all. Um, and then when I was directing my first film, there were a lot of storyboarding that I wanted to do because I wanted to put my point across to people. So I would want to draw, but then I was so terrible at it. I would draw stick figures, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people, of course, it was like you all had a good laugh about it and everything. But then I was like, hey, you know what? This is like a chance for me to like just go get like some basic, sketching done. Like it also helps you understand perspective. You can draw better. You can express better, for example. So I was like, yeah, let me do that. Like for a change. And also, I love buildings. For example, I love buildings, like a fascinating building, like, especially very historical or something. I'll take a picture, but I don't know what to do with it after that, right? You just admire this building, you take a picture, and that's it. But now, because I know I've learned urban sketching, now I go sit in a place for 1 hour trying to look at every detail of that building and sketch it onto my paper. And now I know that building in a very different viewpoint. It's not just that 1 second of clicking that photograph. Now I've spent 1 hour with that building, knowing where are those, grills, or like what was that style? Was it Victorian? Was it, Mughal period, etc. You just come to know the history of, the building itself while I'm sitting there for 1 hour doing this. And also like, Googling on the side, trying to get some history. So I think it's like I'm just trying to like I think get as many skills in as possible as well. They might be very unrelated, but I'm very sure that in time, somewhere in life, it's all going to come to use. Like for example, I learned this wall climbing, and I went to Albania recently, like this year, and I had to get down to this beach, and there was literally no stairs, nothing. There is like from a cliff, you have to get down through a rope. There's only one rope, and there's no harness, nothing, right? And I literally messaged my friend who was like guiding me through this whole wall climbing thing. I was like, I'm putting the skills to use today, FYI. And I had to like rappel down the whole cliff by myself. There was nobody to help. And if you fall, you fall. If you don't, great, good for you. So it was very adventurous. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You'll never know when you'll need these skills. It's good to just have these skills just come around in your life. So this struggle with productivity is very real, but I try to like balance it off by learning new skills so that I feel good about it also, that, okay, I am being productive and also making use of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, one wonderful thing you said in the middle, Sindhu, was this challenge of quantifying what you do. And that is where the big difference lies between a salaried and routine job and this kind of haphazard artistic life that we live.
Yeah.
Because I remember the many years that I used to work in an office, there was a set routine. So end of the day, I felt like I've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because I know you've gotten up on time, you've gotten ready for work, traveled all the way, full commute, and already you're feeling like, oh, I've done a lot. And then you spend the whole day in office. But now this life,
Yeah.
especially the days when you don't have a shoot or don't have a show or don't have a meeting, those are the very critical days of our life. And I keep telling it to all my friends that those are the days that are actually, you know what I mean? That those are the days which are actually helping me become who I'm trying to become.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you sometimes work and sometimes there is a delusion, there's an illusion of work. Okay, I've done a lot, man. I did like 5 calls today. But the critical days are when there are no calls, no shows, no shoot. What are you doing in those days? That is the this thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's amazing. But I think since you talked about taking so many short courses and learning a lot of things, and which will be helpful at some point, that or even if it's not, you feel
Yeah.
good that you
Yeah.
learned something. So are you like is it also, apart from trying to quantify your days, is it also coming from a place of genuine curiosity and learning? Do you have that feeling that you really want to know more, learn more in general in life?
Yes, absolutely. I think I have this huge fascination for just like, how does this work? How does this work? Oh,
Yeah.
how did they do this? When they didn't have access to technology, how did they build this? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm always curious to just know how things work.
Hmm.
Not that it will always be something that I will be able to fathom in the first go. Like, there are so many topics that I feel like just like kind of like fascinate me, and I'd like to leave it at that, because I'm like this, like understanding this would probably take me much longer. But I have this genuine like curiosity for how things work in general. And um, I just got a cat recently, and now I understood the curiosity kills a cat kind of thing, because for the first time I'm seeing that behavior. It's like going to like everything and seeing, oh, what is this? Oh, what will happen if I do this, for example? Like, that's how the cat feels, right? Like, that's exactly how I feel. Like, oh my god, this is exactly like the kind of behavior I have been probably showcasing. Is that I'd like to go up to people and just like ask them what they do, like, or like, like friends, or like friends of friends, or whoever I'm meeting for the first time. I'm very curious about what they do, how did they get there, what have they done, etc., to get to where they're now, or etc., or if they have some new skills, like how did they get about to like you know getting to that place in their lives, etc. I think I'm very fascinated by people in general first, and then of course things I love history, so which is why like I have a fascination for all old things, vintage, antique things. And that was one of the reasons I told you, like, I love buildings and I don't know what to do with them, so I'm like, now I sit and sketch them in my spare time. So yeah, like I think that it keeps your mind active in a sense. There's so much to read about, there's so much to like know, understand. And I feel like sometimes a lifetime is not enough for the amount of things I want to do. Like when I was growing up, like I wanted to be everything. I was like, one day I was like, I want to be pilot, one day I want to be doctor, one day I want to be engineer, one day I want to be this, one I want. The problem is that I want to be so many things and do so many things, which is why I think I ended up as an actor, because you get this one life and you can live many roles through that. You can experience many realities through that without it really being your own. You just get to step into it and then come out of it, for shorter periods, like 1 month, 2 months, whatever, whenever you're doing that role, right? So I think it's fascinating that because of my job, I get to live those many different lives. And it's and I think even understanding your character comes from a place of curiosity. It shouldn't come from a place of judgment. It should come from a place of curiosity. Oh, if I was this person, or if I was this person in real life, or, and considering that this was their backstory, how would they behave and what would have shaped their life? Or sometimes you don't have backstories, you create backstories for your characters. So it comes from that place of like, and also all the people that you meet, they're all becoming observations for your work in some sense. Whether you're writing, whether you're acting, or whether you're directing, they all become in some sense part of like observation for your work also. So I don't really know how to explain where it came from, and etc. I know that it's there, and I kind of use it to like kind of put it back in like my work.
Okay, we might not know where it's coming from, this whole desire of curiosity and learning, but one thing I'm sure of is where it's heading. Because when I look at your career, I can see that even within the professional sphere of your work, you're trying to do new things, trying to learn new things. Because I know when I knew you, you were a fantastic actor. But what blew my mind is when I got to know that you've directed a movie. You are a I read the reviews and it says Sindhu Srinivas Murthy's debut film, and it was heartening to read. And I'll tell you why, Sindhu. When I was growing up, I was fascinated with cinema. I still am. In the kind of childhood I had, that was the only escape. Okay, so my sister and I would sit and just watch whatever movie we could watch. And I used to be like, I want to do this at some point in my life. And the only thing I could think of myself as was a director, because I was like, actors have certain looks and I don't have that, and I don't know. This is childish dreams. Okay, so I used to be always like, who has directed this movie? So I used to know all the directors' name growing up. Okay, this is Ram Gopal Verma, this is Yash Chopra, this is Subhash Ghai, this is James Cameron later. Aisa karke life was going. But when I finally got on a set as an actor and I saw a director work, I was like, this is something I can never do. This is too difficult. It's nice to see it from outside when a director comes in an interview and says, yeah, you're the captain of the ship and I did this, I did that, I had this vision. Oh, Maniratnam's interviews, Anurag Kashyap's interviews. But when I was on set, I was like, this is impossible. There are just too many things that this person has to do. Earlier I just thought this person just does this. Because in the film, that's how they show directors. This one guy on his set saying action, cut. But I realized the person has to, there is one costume team on his or her head saying, "Can you approve the costume?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." There is a camera team going, "What is the frame? What's the next shot? What do you want? What are the shots?" There's one whole AD team. Then there are actors who want to know about the scene. Then there are the production team which wants the shoot to be done in a certain way, certain cost, certain time. And these are just some of the examples. There are multiple things that a director has to deal with. And you managed to do it. I still can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, I don't know. So so I want to talk about this now, Sindhu, like from an actor to a writer to director. How did that journey happen, and how was this pivoting that you did? Was it like intentional, or sometimes you just go with the flow, or was it planned? Like, I want to know about this whole journey, Sindhu the actor to Sindhu the director.
So I think first of all, it again comes from curiosity and learning. Is the fact that when I was on my first set, I was on my first film set, Brahman Naman, I was just an actor. I did 2 days of shoot. I had no idea of what was going on around, right? So on my third day, which was an off, I actually went back to set and and my director was like, "What are you doing here? It's your off." And I'm like, "No, I want to be an AD today. So I'll be the AD to the AD if you want, but I just want to AD for one day and just kind of understand everything that I need to know about a film set." So that day, I went to each department and asked them what they do and how they do it, for example, just so that as an actor, when I come back the fourth day, I have a better understanding of how this set works and what do I need to do to kind of help everybody work better. You know, even as actors, we have that duty that, we facilitate everybody else's work at the same time, um, so that was one. And then I also came from a background of theater. So theater, of course, I've always been an actor in theater as well, and you do production. You have to do production while you're an actor as well in theater. But then I was very fascinated with these directors for the choices that they were making. Suddenly they'll be like, "You both do this scene in this way, and we'll skip these lines, we'll do this instead." And they're directing and they're making the whole play work. And I would be so fascinated about how are they making these choices? What is making them make these choices of who should go where, the blocking, or what they should pick up, when they should pick up something, say the dialogue, etc. It was extremely fascinating. So in my head, I told myself, okay, one day I will direct. Maybe when I'm like 40 and retiring, or like 50, I will probably direct. Not even a movie, a play. That was what I set myself up for in life. So then what really changed was the fact that I was an actor and I came to Bombay. And I have to give credit to all the wonderful friends that I have made in Bombay, all the stand-up comedians, and especially one of them, which was Abish Matthew. I remember that I was telling him about certain auditions that I'd been to, and he was like, "Sindhu, you do have to like kind of pick up another skill if you want to stay in Bombay longer, right?" And I was like, "No, it's okay. Like, I've come with some money. The minute it runs out, I'll just go back. It's fine." And he's like, "No, it doesn't work like that. Like Bombay takes time. Things take time, and if you really want it, then you have to stick around for the long term. And for that long term, you need to start thinking about like other skills that you can develop within this sort of like sphere." So then I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I guess all my friends, they were like, yeah, they were all writing, they were creating their own content, for example. So they were all like, "Yeah, Sindhu, you should probably like write. You should take up a workshop or whatever." So then I took up this workshop that AIB was hosting, which was Mr. Satyanshu Singh's workshop. He's still my mentor till today. He's he was doing a workshop on story. And I went for that workshop. I signed up for it and I went for it. And it was such a life-changing workshop for the reason that it was demystified for me. How to write a film, how to write a story for a film was demystified in that one session. And it was very fascinating because he tells you about how this story works. What do you need to make a story work, right? And those are broad guidelines, and he gives you examples of how it's worked, and etc., etc. And then you, of course, develop your own, and then you develop it around this guidelines, right? And then he had successive workshops, etc., and everything. And the first I think script that I wrote right out of that was with Kanan Gill, my co-writer on Achar and Co. And that was the first script that we wrote, Achar and Co. Because I just finished the workshop. Kanan also was, I think, in between projects at that point. And then, we were just discussing about this, the fact that, I come from this very large family, and God, they have such fascinating stories about how they've got married in the 60s. And he was like, "Do you want to write a film about it?" I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And then that's it. That was just like one conversation we had. And then, I went back home. I did a lot of research. I got everybody to talk about their stories and then came back. And then we started writing the story and the screenplay over a period of, I think, 6 to 8 months. We wrote it. So that's what it was. I think it was just not really planned, but also taking a leap of faith, and, kind of trusting myself in that sense. So that's how writing happened. And then I moved back to Bombay after that. And the script, we wrote it as just an experiment, for Kanan and I, for a fact that we were just like, hey, we have this skill, so let's just see what it will turn out like. We really didn't think we were going to make it into a film or anything. So I think it was around 2019 that one of our friends introduced me to Tulsi, who's today my agency. Tulsi is a media agency. They represent writers and directors. And they were like, hey, I heard you're writing a film. So can you like share that script with us? We'd love to read it, etc. And I was like, okay, cool, take it. And they're like, okay, who's going to direct this? It's really nice. We really like it. And I was like, I don't know, like just get anybody to direct it. I don't care. I just want to act in it. So I'm like literally I want to audition for the lead. They were like, okay, like why don't you scout for a few directors, and I guess we'll also see. But then everybody that I respected, for example, even in the Kannada space as directors, they were all writing and directing their own material. It's very rare that they'll just take on somebody else's material and then write it. Direct it. And also the fact that what vision you have, another person will not be able to replicate that vision. So I have a vision of what this film needs to look like. And I cannot expect that this person would have the same vision for it. And that my agency tried to like explain to me, Sindhu, are you really ready to let go of the script? In the fact that if they put an item number tomorrow, you should not be like, worried about that. For example, you need to let go of full control. And I was like, no way. Like, I cannot like have somebody come in and put like an item song or like, just make it unbelievable. And that's not what the project is about. The project is about the fact that it revolves around these women, the agency of women. And I really wanted to be told extremely subtly and beautifully. And we're not against like any sort of ideology. We just want to be like have ours heard. That's it. So I wanted it to feel that way. I didn't want it to feel like some bashing, like, bashing a certain gender, or, I didn't want it to be suddenly like, like item song, whatever, right? Like I wasn't ready to let that control go. So then they were like, I think you have to direct it then. And I was like,
wow,
no way. Like, I don't know how to direct. This is crazy. I have no clue. They were like, okay, fine, do one thing, like make a sample film of the screenplay itself, like pick 2 scenes that you like, shoot it on your phone, bring it back to us. If we see that there is some value in it and it's nice, let's show it to producers and tell them that this is just a pitch, and and then you can direct it. And because I've not directed anything before, not even an ad, not even a short film, nothing. So that's what made me like, do this sample. And they were like, TK, now go back to Bangalore, do this and come, like on homework. But then there was something in me that I was like, if I'm going to shoot this, I don't want to shoot it on my phone. So I hired a cinema camera. So I produced 2 days of shoot where I got all actors, light team, tech team. I got, I was a producer. I was a costume stylist. I was the director. I was the actor. I was the writer on this set, on my sample set. And I got my friends from theater to come in and act, which also became their showreel. 2 of them got hired from that sample into the final film as well. I got a red cinema camera first time, and I was trying to like figure it out with my DOP on how to like, make this, look good and everything. So a bunch of us got together, and it was really, I think, a blessing. I think I've just attracted the most wonderful people in my life that came on so quickly to just help me with my sample. And then we shot over 2 days, and it was a weekend, so I had to pay double bata for everything. And these are all the rookie mistakes you make, right? So then we did that. And then the sample was ready, the 6 minutes, and I showed it to my agency. They loved it. They were like, this is great. We're going to pitch this. And then that was the March of 2020. So then,
oh wow,
everything shut off. And I think I was like, oh my God, I don't know if this will ever happen. But that those few months that I was working on the sample, it was as good as going to film school for me. Because, like you know, I haven't even gone to film school. I don't know this formally. I'm not educated in this formally in terms of like how to make a film or write or any of this. This is all stuff that I've picked on the job. Acting is also something I picked up on the job during my days in theater. So I fully believe in just picking up skills on the job, dive deep into it, and so I was like, whatever money I was investing in it, also, it felt like I'm investing in myself for my learning and for my growth. I was very much in touch with reality. The fact that it may turn out to be rubbish, but I would have learned so much about it. The fact that I was able to put 6 minutes of a film together and all the process that I needed to do that, I had learned, even like, like basics of it, meant a lot to me. So I was ready to go with the fact that that was what it was going to be and nothing else. But it just so happened that people liked it. And then we had no producers because of 2020. But there was one amazing person who was producing despite the pandemic. And that is late Puneet Rajkumar sir. And I happened to meet him during one of my film promotions, which I was an actor of. And then I told him, listen, by any chance, are you like willing to see a film that I have made? And he's like, of course. And he just gave me his personal number right then and there and his wife's
It's
personal number.
getting goosebumps listening to. Anyway, like the
So
moment you would have met him and everything. Yeah.
yeah, and these are like, they're giving me like their personal number, not even like, some manager's number or like, business head's number, nothing, right? He instantly gave me his number and said, send it to me. And this I have learned that, like it's your first impression is very important. So I didn't want to send the screenplay because it's like 102 pages long. People will take a lot of time to read it. So the sample film was a better way to like get the story out, right? So I sent it to him. He loved it. And that August, I still remember it was August 15th, Independence Day, was my true independence. He told me he's onboarding the project and he wants to produce. And I was like, and then after that, we worked quite a bit onto like translating it into Kannada because we had written Kannada and I had written it in English, and we had to translate the dialogues into Kannada. We tried to actually go on floor 3 times. So 2 times, one is the first wave, second was the second wave, and third time our producer passed away. And then finally his wife took on, and then we made the film last year.
Oh man, what a. Oof. But there's so many things I want to talk about, but we have limited time. But I just want to know your experience of the first day on set. Like when you've done all the preparation, everything is done, but just to be on set as the person who you know that I'm responsible for this set, everything.
Yeah.
If there's one person where the buck stops, it's me. How was that day? Like, were you
I,
nervous? Were you like, I just want to go through the first day.
I think I shouldn't be saying this, but I will anyway. The first day that I went on set, there were a couple of things that happened. I was also in costume because I was a lead actor in the
Yeah.
film. So I was getting my hair and makeup and everything and all of that. And everybody knew that I was the director and actor and everything. So they would really be very accommodating of me. But I remember that day when I stepped out of the like my vanity and I came out, I was wearing a sari and like whatever. The instant everybody is like, oh, madam is here, madam is here. And I was just like, oh God.
Wow.
I was like, this is like too much. Like, because usually you, as an actor, you don't interact with all the teams, right? Now, tech, my camera, my light team, like my light officers, everyone's like very attuned to the fact that, that there is this woman that we're going to be working. And they were very nice, by the way. So first thing I got done, everybody's like, "Oh, madam is coming, madam is coming," and I think it was all the sari and etc. Like there was this just another air of like, I don't know, like more seriousness in what we were doing, etc. Like more authority. Because I know that if I'd gone there in like my jeans and my t-shirt, it would have been like slightly more casual. You know what I mean? Like I was in a sari and like commanding so much authority on set. I was very like, whoa, what is this? I could get drunk on this power. Somebody please stop this. But on a serious note, when we were actually, we did the first muhurtam shot, and you have to like, you do the muhurtam shot, right? And then the thing that was going on in my head was, everybody is going to know that I'm a fake right now. That was a thought. And I did not dare tell anybody on set this, because of course they shouldn't know that, because then, they're really trusting me with this, the process, the vision. They were really going with it. Like, we haven't seen something like this in Kannada before, this much extent of stylizing and etc. and everything. So people really had to rely on like what I was telling them and the vision that I had for the project. But in my head, the first day was very difficult, because I was like, dude, they're going to figure out that I'm a fake. Like, I'm this fake director, fake actor, whatever, right? And they're going to figure it out. And that was my biggest fear. And then we gave the first shot, and everybody was just so happy, and they were all clapping and everything. And I was like, oh God, relief, just relief. I just wanted to get through the first day, just the first day.
Wow. So since you said this, so I want to take this whole thing of doing multiple jobs and sometimes at the same time. Like I discussed in the last episode with Nihal about just in general in career trying to do many things. Like I do stand-up, I do acting, I do quizzing, I do blah, blah, blah. And but for you to take it to a next level where you're the actor and the director on set. Because I always wondered when I used to watch Raj Kapoor films. And then when I got to know that he was directing many of those, I was like, how do you do that? So, like, I want to know about this now. Like, being an actor and the director, how does that work? Because, like you said, when you've gone in the morning, a director would usually go through the shot breakdown and will go through the status of the light team and everything. Would sit with the AD team, plan the day. But as an actor, you also have to get your hair and makeup done and your own costume done, and like whether you've eaten or I don't know, too many things. How did that part specifically happen?
Before I jump into that, I think adding previously to what we talked about pivoting, the whole point of pivoting into writing was so that there is an additional skill to acting, so that in between the time period that you're waiting for acting projects to happen, you have another skill, right? And then directing just so happened to come to me, and these are the opportunities. When they come to you, you just have to pounce, because it's not every day that somebody is going to believe in you and be like, you can direct, right? It's very rare that these opportunities will come by, and I feel like pivoting at the right time when these opportunities come is extremely essential. Because if my main thing was not about failure, I was like, if I let this go, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. If I suck at it, that's okay. But letting go of that opportunity itself, of giving yourself a chance to try something, that doesn't come very often. And when it comes, you have to identify it quickly, and you have to just kind of like pounce at it. So I think, to go back on that pivoting is very important at the right time and the right opportunities, especially. And they can always be supplementary. You know what I mean? Like they can, or they can also be complementary. Rather, they can be complementary skills. You don't have to kind of let go of one to be the other. So, which is coming to this. Now I am an actor, writer, and director. So sometimes there are projects where I'm doing both, all three, or only one. So when I was on set, I think my main thing was, okay, now the writing part had finished, so it was now just me as an actor and director. So our days used to begin very early. We used to wake up at like some 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and like get ready and leave for set. And my first thing was to sit in hair and makeup. Of course, first come brief everybody what scenes we're doing, and then sit in hair and makeup. And my hair and makeup team was so attuned to the fact that I need to be on set. Sometimes, like, I had to go suddenly check light in, like, what the setup is going to look like, or the art, or the costume. I will be called. They would be so sweet to me. They would let me go even if my hair is half done. They would like let me go if my makeup is half done. You would know this. They will never let you out of the chair unless you're fully done in hair and makeup. They don't let you out of the chair. But here, because they knew that like my job was to like make sure everything was happening, they would make sure that the minute I'm free, that the chair is empty for me, and the minute I leave, they have to send me out in whatever form. So I think the teams were really tuned to that fact. And even I also had an associate director, Gaurav Krishna, who was of, again, massive help. I think the entire team, my AD team, we used to actually, after every days of shoot, we used to sit back in our apartment, and we used to have a director's meeting every single night about what were the scenes that we shot today, what did we like that went on set, what didn't we like, and what can we do better the next day. Now, if we had that meeting, the next day would be a breeze. If we didn't have that meeting, the next day would be a disaster. And we've tried it. So for us, those meetings are very important, and it was so amazing that I had this lovely cinematographer called Abhimanyu Sadanandan. So he came in and he sat in the direction meetings as well, because he knew that I'm going to be like sometimes in front of the camera, and so we were very prepared to kind of uh, be able to take these calls very quickly. So we know what we're thinking right before we go on set. And in fact, Abhimanyu and I storyboarded the entire film before we even started shooting. So while we shot it in Mysore. So while we were in Bangalore, we storyboarded the entire film. We knew exactly what our shots are going to be, and etc. etc. And then only when we went for a recce, location recce, we again mapped out everything. And these were given out to all departments so that everyone knew at every given point what we were shooting. So that my job, when I'm trying to like double up as an actor and as a director, kind of just becomes a lot more easier. And I think it's the great team that's around you, honestly.
Wow. While you were talking about Sindhu, that you wrote something with Kanan and then you shared it with people and then you shared it with your agency, Tulsi, etc. One thought in the back of my mind kept happening was, what if somebody will steal your script? Because that's
Yeah.
very like, and especially in Mumbai, a lot of people are very, very protective about what they write and all that, right? So I want to talk about this now as writers specifically, your rights, like how because the general convention is that in India, the writers don't get the respect that they deserve, first of all, or if you have to put a benchmark, then not as good as in the West. That's the general convention. I might be wrong. But you now, especially focusing on your journey as a writer, um, did you feel any challenge like that in terms of the rights that writers have in general in the country or in the film industry, or or rights of artists in general? Like did you go through any of these thoughts?
So primarily, I think it's very important to register your script, your story, concept, logline, anything that you have. If it is even 2 lines and you think it is the next thing, it's going to be a film, just go register it. There's something called the Screenwriters Association. It is in Bombay, and you basically register your script there, concept, idea. They've made all of these provisions. So you don't start sharing material until it's registered. That is one great way to kind of protect yourself, protect your content. And the second part of it is actually the Southern industry works a lot on trust. There's no real contracts involved. That is the real roadblock, if you ask me. And it's only now, like now that I have an agency, it's far easier because they talk on my behalf and they get things done. But otherwise, people really refrain from getting into contracts here in the Southern industry. They think they don't want to put anything down in words or on paper, etc., which actually could be not so beneficial for both parties, which is what they're now beginning to realize and understand. And now slowly that's changing, because my own production house has just, like the ones that we work with, we had a lot of contracts for everybody, for actors, writers, directors, EPs, everyone. But it was unheard for them to have done this on any other project. And that's also great because the kind of I think exposure I've had in Bombay and the EPs that I was working with, which is Do Creative Labs, we both have this exposure to like Bombay, the industry in Bombay or elsewhere, or how it works in Hollywood, for example. All of this, right? We have context to that. So we're trying to kind of bring those practices here so that it kind of becomes more regulated in that sense. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is like getting into contracts. And then of course the next bigger challenge is fair pay. I think pay is not enough for writers. Writers are always like not compensated adequately, I feel, for what the films become. And in fact, writers have to be paid for derivatives, etc., which I have also like learned from my own agency. And the multiple rights that you get through prequel, sequel, books, or if you want to like make a spin-off, etc., like writers are barely ever compensated for that. It'll go to the director or the production house. So all of this is like very important, and I think like more writers should be aware of all of this. And there are a lot of seminars and workshops that are held by like SWA, and people should attend it, get themselves I think acquainted with what are their rights, and ask for it.
That I'm sure will be very helpful for anyone who is listening, who is aspiring to be a writer or is already a writer. Because these things, the thing with paperwork in general is that they always seem very boring and low priority at the beginning, but later you realize that they were probably the most important thing that you should have done in the
Yeah.
beginning of your career.
Yeah.
But since we talked about rights, I also want to balance it by talking about privilege. Okay. And I'm saying this because, again, on Random Musings, we have dealt with this. I think Azim and I and Zakir and I had this discussion on Random Musings about what is the life of an artist, like who are we, what do we do, what we do, etc. And one of the common themes has always been that, is it a privilege to have arts as a career? I remember this wonderful poem. I don't remember it verbatim, but I'll tell you the theme of what the poem was. That one guy gets shot and he says Ram, or a god's name. The other guy gets shot and he says Mao. Okay. The third guy gets shot and he says Khana. Okay. So the first guy, of course, talks about religion. The second guy talks about revolution. And the third guy says food. Okay. Because the core of this was that if if your stomach is full, then you will talk about arts and culture and philosophy, etc., etc. And a lot of, especially in our country, majority of our country is struggling for survival first. I mean, on my Maslow's self-actualization is way too fast. Okay. So art historically has been treated as something which the privileged people do. It's not for people who are trying to make their ends meet.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this because you've been a lifelong artist, so to speak. You've done theater and then, as we discussed, actor, writer, director. What is your take on privilege of having art as a career?
You know, every time I've been asked, like, you know, what was the struggle to do your first film, I always tell them, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong person to speak about struggle, because I feel like it's been a massive privilege, if anything, from where I come from. Of course, I don't have connections in the industry or anything, but I come from like a fairly middle class family. But the fact that I'm able to pursue a career in arts itself is a huge privilege. The fact that, you know, career in arts means it takes you that long. It's a long term game. You have to be, you know, in it for the long run. You cannot expect things to happen overnight, or, you know, get projects overnight and fame overnight and things like that. Such a huge gamble. Sometimes projects work, sometimes projects don't work, sometimes it's shelved, sometimes you're removed. So many things happen. It's completely out of your control. And that you have to be patient. And now, how can you be patient if you don't have that support system around you that can help you sustain there without having like a regular source of income that's coming in, like how a salaried person gets it, like let's say first of every month, you know? So when you don't have that, and when it's so uncertain and the income is so unstable, it really is a privilege that whatever setting you're in is able to support that lifestyle. So I've been very vocal about this. I feel like I come from this family where my parents are supportive of what I do. I live with them. I live with my parents in Bangalore. And because of this, I was able to like put in the savings that I had into making that sample film. I always think about, would I be able to do that if I was in Bombay? No chance. Because it took me a lot of money to do that. And I don't think even if I had tried really hard, I couldn't have like probably saved up that much money. And also the cost to do things was higher in Bombay, for example. So it would take that much more longer and that much more effort to do what I did, let's say in Bombay. And here, because I was with my parents, etc., I told them to like just give me some time to do this. Just help me out while I like, you know, just like, I know you can't see the results just yet, but just bear with me and just trust me that I'm doing something and I want to like just pursue it. Give me some time.
Yeah.
And of course, we've had conversations. There was a time when I thought of like leaving all of this behind and switching careers, etc. But there was something just calling me back to this again and again, the arts. And I don't know, I can't really see myself doing anything else.
Yeah.
Because I'm so invested in this, you know, in storytelling, be it as an actor or now a director. or a writer. I just feel so invested in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like I can really place my heart on anything else and do it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's a huge privilege, the fact that I'm able to do any of this, and with the support system, the kind of people I have no financial responsibility. That itself is a huge thing,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
I'm not responsible for, let's say, anything other than myself
Mm.
at this point, as
Mm.
honest as I can be,
Mm.
except my own financial responsibility, my savings, my investments, and my lifestyle. I am not responsible for anything else. Like
Mm.
my parents have worked all their lives and they're on pension. They're doing great. My sister's in San Francisco. She's doing great. So I have no responsibility. We're not in debt, which is all amazing things, like the perfect privilege ground
Yeah.
to do whatever you want, right? But I'm also saying when you have that kind of privilege, you make the most of it,
Mm.
push and make the most of it. Like
Mm.
really take those risks and chances. And that's
Mm.
what I try to do, which is like, when my parents only kind of realized that this was something, not
Mm.
everything. Something was when Mr. Puneet Rajkumar picked up my
Mm.
story and he said, I will produce this. That
Mm.
was the turning point in my house, for example,
Mm.
where they were like, oh, so he thinks
The
this is good.
yeah.
Sort of thing, right? So if he believes in you and if he's placing so much belief and faith in you, I guess there's something here. So it came quite late. So,
Mm.
but it's a huge support system that gets you here.
Mm. Mm.
And another privilege I would feel, I don't know if it's privilege, but I would like to acknowledge the fact that, PRK was like literally the first production house I pitched to and I got the film. So
Mm.
my struggle may not feel like a lot
Mm.
to other people, and I empathize with the fact that people try to make their films for years and
Mm.
everything. And I fully acknowledge the fact that even when in press, when I'm asked like, how, what all struggles did you face trying
Mm.
to get to this point, I'm like, no, it also was making sure you approach the right people. That also is there. You just don't go around just shop it to everybody. You should also kind of know who will produce what kind of content and
Mm.
who are the people you would want to work with. Do your values and us align? That also is a big mix.
Mm.
So I had probably recognized maybe just two or three people that I would be able to approach,
Mm.
and
Mm.
PRK was obviously the top of my list because I knew they were producing new talent, fresh talent, and they were open to experimenting, and they wanted to give a chance to like new actors, directors, writers. So I knew that fit well, and they love producing family oriented films. So I knew who I was targeting, like,
Mm. Mm.
so it was also that, to, I mean, you
Mm.
have to also be more specific about where you're going,
Mm.
etc.
Mm.
But yes, in that sense, like, I didn't of course had to go around too many times to pitch my film, etc. But then of course making it itself was took us a long time, longer than we had anticipated.
Mm. Mm. And thank you so much, Sindhu. This was one of the most objective take on privilege and arts, and such a candid way to put it. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Sindhu, as expected, wonderful, wonderful. I personally learned so much about and related to so many things about trying to be productive all the time and pivoting at the right time and not limiting ourselves to one job. And then, of course, your take on privilege of art as a career. I'm now going to the fun part of our episode, which is called rapid fire. Okay. And unlike any other TV talk show, we have zero controversial questions. We
Okay,
have very, very basic favorite things mostly. Idea is to just for people also to get some recommendation, something that if they haven't. Okay. Only rule for you, Sindhu, is you can't think at all. Okay. You have to tell me the top of the mind thing that comes to your mind when I say favorite dash. Okay.
okay.
So we'll do 10 questions and then we'll go back to your answers in case you feel like adding something to your answer. Okay. Cool. This is rapid fire with Sindhu. Favorite movie?
Oh my god, Coco, Disney.
Coco.
Yeah.
Favorite show? TV show?
um Office, the
Fa-
US one.
Office US. Favorite South Indian film?
South Indian film. So many. I'll just tell the most recent one that I liked. I guess Mandela, Tamil.
Hmm. Favorite actor?
That's a very large category.
Yes, please. Top of
Meryl
my
Streep.
Meryl Streep. Favorite Bangalore restaurant?
Guru Koteshwara Benne Dose.
Favorite travel destination?
That I've been on already, or
Yes, that you've been to. Yeah.
I think the most recent one, Albania.
Favorite song?
Right now, I like that Rekha Bharadwaj's song, SAQ.
ऐसे क्यों? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite director?
um, Two, Wes Anderson and Taika Waititi.
Favorite book?
Um, think about it. I'll just mention the most recent one that I liked and I enjoyed, The Palace of Illusions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite quality about yourself?
Perseverance.
Nice and fun. We'll go back to all your answers, Sindhu, if you want to add anything. It's okay also if you're like nothing to add. Okay. Favorite movie, Coco. Do you want to say 30 seconds, 1 minute on why Coco is, why do you like the movie?
Because it is such a large theme about death and family that they've just so beautifully spoken about in the film. And you would know better that it hits home every time for me and I start weeping. So Coco is extremely close to me because it brought me a lot of comfort.
Yeah. Favorite TV show, The Office. Anything on the, although a lot has been talked about The Office.
I think the best thing is I'd actually not seen The Office for the longest time until we started shooting for Better Life Foundation. And then I was made to watch it. And then after that, I was like, oh my God, like I love this. And I've fallen in love with it. And it's like my comfort, like go-to thing to watch. Of course, I stopped watching after Steve Carell left. I loved it till when he was there.
Okay. Favorite South Indian movie? It's just a coincidence that I was actually talking about Mandela very recently with a friend of mine because I was watching Doctor. Okay. Now, Doctor is a very fun, nice movie. And then Yogi Babu came in that movie, and my friend was like, "Who is this guy?" And I said, "Arey, that's Yogi Babu. He's in every movie nowadays. Like he has become that comic guy. But he has actually has this fantastic movie called Mandela, where like he sort of the lead or whatever. So I was talking about him when you said Mandela. But yeah, please tell us more about Mandela and why do you like the movie?
So I love stories and themes which pick up such a large theme, which is about voting and like your rights, etc. But they've done such a lovely, fantastic comic take on it, which is again including caste, includes rival like caste and everything. I think that that's amazing. The fact that you're able to take such large themes, big themes, break it down into such um, like like to make it so palatable and humorous for the people. I guess I think that's, I don't think that there's a better way to get your point across, you know what I mean?
Favorite actor, Meryl Streep. You wanna say something about Meryl Streep? I mean, who are we?
Everybody knows that. So versatile and she's so
Yeah.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah. Favorite Bangalore restaurant, you put Guru Koteshwara Benne Dose.
Yeah, only people who live here will know about this place. They make really amazing Davangere Benne Dose. Like the one that is like soaked in butter.
Yeah. I just want to add that I was once doing a road trip from Mumbai to Bangalore, and we had taken a night like stay at our friend's place in Belgaum. Okay, so the day two was Belgaum, Bangalore, and then we were crossing Devangere. Okay, and my friend was like, "Macha, you wanna go and I'll make you taste something. It's slight detour. You have to leave the highway, but it's worth it." So I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then he told me about this whole history of Benne Dose and like etc. And we went to to Davangere to have Benne Dosa. Oh my God. It's one of my best food experiences of my life. I will
Yeah.
never forget.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Karthik, if you're watching, uh, yeah. Okay. Favorite tourist destination, Albania. I've never been, so please, I would love to hear like a minute about
So the
what.
thing is, because of this crazy work schedules that we have, we don't know when something's going to come up and not. I
Hmm,
always wanted to go to Europe. I've not been to Europe,
hmm,
and so I can't wait for a Schengen visa to come and like
hmm,
I can't do that drill. So I was looking for a European country, but not part of the Schengen. And
hmm,
then I had like 8 choices, and in that I picked Albania,
hmm,
and it surprised me,
hmm,
absolutely surprised me. Like I went in, like my parents were like, where are you going? This was like fun, it was under the communist regime till like about 91. What are you doing? This is going to
hmm,
be scary and dangerous and
hmm,
whatnot. The most hospitable people I have met anywhere.
hmm,
Amazing food. I didn't miss Indian food even once.
hmm,
And the scenery, it was just so beautiful. All the places were so scenic, so stunning. It's a hidden gem, really.
hmm, hmm. Okay. Noted. Added to my list. Favorite song, Aise Kyun? What is this song? With I can't. What is this Rika Bardwaj Aise Kyun?
Actually, it is just there are so many songs. I love so many songs, but like when
Yeah,
you ask me, like
yeah,
Thai,
I know it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, like I'm listening to a lot of Thai Verdes and like Leon Bridges, and
Hmm,
that's my jam. That's what I've been listening to mostly.
hmm,
But Rekha Bharadwaj is this one song. It's such a sweet song.
hmm,
I don't usually listen to Hindi music, but this
hmm,
one song is just a very beautiful song. Aise Kyun? I
hmm.
think it is in a series on
Oh.
Mismatched. I don't watch the series, but this song has been everywhere, and such a I love her voice more than anything. I think I listen to anything that Rekha Bharadwaj
Hmm.
sings. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Favorite director, you picked Wes Anderson and Taika Waititi. Anything that makes them different than others? Like,
Yeah, so Wes Anderson, props to him for being so unique and creating an identity of his own that is so true to himself
hmm,
that when you watch a film of his, it's a Wes
hmm,
Anderson film. It's
hmm,
a stamp. It's literally a signature
hmm,
style, right?
hmm,
And it's so hard. Like, how many times do you come across people who can create such signature styles? Matt,
hmm,
props to him again because he pays so much attention to music, to art, to costume, to colors, to production. Oh my God, everything.
hmm,
So the effort that you think, if just that one director doing that much is like a lot of effort, imagine what he's doing, because
hmm,
he's like taking like so much more like
hmm,
interest and effort into every little detail that goes on into his films.
hmm,
So mad props to him. And I think Taika Waititi, wonderful again, actor plus writer plus director. He's bloomy in like Jojo Rabbit, for example. Jojo Rabbit was one of my favorite movies
hmm,
that year. I think it should have won the Oscar according to
hmm,
me.
hmm, hmm,
But what a film! I loved it, and so inspirational. The fact that that these guys are also able to like multitask and do so many things. Um, and the same thing, right? Like even in Canada, we have few people who are doing that, like the Shetties, like the
hmm,
Rakshit Shetty, Rishabh Shetty, Rajbi Shetty. They're all directors, they're actors. But
hmm,
when I was going into it, I was like, okay, why can't I do it? I know I'm not like, I know I'm a woman, but I'd be able to do it as well. Like it was a huge inspiration that these guys who come with no filmy backgrounds were coming and doing this in our industry. And I was like, dude, if they can, at least I can attempt it.
hmm,
And we'll see if we fail or like we
hmm,
succeed, but at least we can, right?
hmm, hmm,
So I love people who can like multitask. I love Phoebe Waller-Bridge, for example.
hmm,
Michaela Coel, loved her. I May Destroy You. Oh, I was destroyed watching that. So um, yeah, I think these guys are very inspirational,
hmm, hmm,
and especially Taika Waititi because I think he can weave so much. Again, large themes, which was I think the book itself was about that, right? Like the World War, and then it was also so humorously adapted. It was so beautiful.
hmm, hmm. Absolutely, one of my favorite films in last many years. Favorite book, I reacted like because it's the last book I finished before
Oh,
getting.
really?
Yeah, I
I
have been.
finished it like recently as well.
Yeah, I revisited it and I was only reading it on my flights and I finished it very recently. And that also inspired me to finally do something about Mahabharata as a series. And then I started this YouTube series on Mahabharata. But yeah, anything on Palace of Illusions from your end,
So
Sindhu?
as you know, I struggle to read. I've
Hmm,
just only
hmm,
picked up this habit again in my life in the last 2 years,
hmm,
and I just like I feel like, oh my God, I've missed out on so many books.
hmm,
So I kind of tend to ask people whose
hmm,
choices I like, and I tend to ask them for recommendations. And this Palace of Illusions came highly recommended, and I read it and I loved it. And the fact that it was a version of the Mahabharata that we never knew we needed,
Yeah.
from a completely
Yeah.
different perspective, I thought it was fantastic.
Absolutely. Okay. On the last topic now, it's great to end on this after such a long conversation is about your quality, which is perseverance. Uh, you have, but anyway, why do you pick perseverance as your favorite quality about yourself?
Because I haven't given up till now.
Nice. Beautiful.
Literally just that, nothing else. It takes
Beautiful.
mad props, like I told you, to I have never held a job in my life, in the sense
Hmm.
I've never gone corporate, I've never worked in
Hmm.
that sense. I have a degree, I did my CS, I have a degree from that as well.
Hmm.
But I've never really gone and worked. And I've only been pursuing the arts since. And it's been a very long journey. So the only word I can give to that is perseverance.
Sindhu, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking our time to do this. And I'm extremely privileged and lucky that I got this time from you. And on behalf of my audience, our audience, and me, thank you so much for being part of Random Musings. And to the audience, you can watch Achar and Co on Amazon
Prime
Prime
Video.
Video. It's a wonderful film set in 60s, 70s, like Sindhu said, but will not reveal much. Go and watch it. Comes highly recommended from us, of course, and also from the critics and fans and everyone. Please watch it. Okay. Thank you, Sindhu. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.